Hello and welcome to this edition of MDS 3.0 Fundamentals for the summer of 2024. My name is Betty Metz and I am part of the Washington State MDS team. Helping me with this is Tara Hawks, who is our nurse REI coordinator and CMAR unit manager for the state of Washington. In this video today, we'll be talking about using iQIES, about validation reports and error messages, and some of the other reports that you might be able to get in iQIES and also in CASPER. This is information for your use. This is the second session in this unit. The first session covered the case mix index detail report, the schedule, how to read a report, and defaults and exclusions. If you need more information on those topics, please go to session 1 of Unit 3. Thank you so much. The objectives for this session will be to understand how to access iQIES reports in the first place, the different kinds of iQIES reports you might wish to know about, and some of the reports that are still on CASPER, and where to go for further help. When it comes to iQIES reports, when you first log into iQIES, it's always good to use a different browser than Microsoft Edge. You want to use Chrome or Opera or one of the other browser types. You're going to go to this site, iQIES.cms.gov, and you'll get to this landing page. To get into iQIES reports, you need to have the passwords for your account. You must have third-party verification, which means that iQIES wants you to be someone, in other words, have a password, to have an account, and to know something, so that they can send you a piece of information that is very current and only you will be able to know it. So they're going to ask you to, they're going to want you to put in your user ID and password. Then they're going to either send numeric code to your email or to your instant messaging system. So you're going to need to know that to get into the third-party verification. Once you get in, you're going to see this banner across the top with this logo with a little box that says iQIES, and it's going to recognize you by name. When you ask for a report, the first thing you're going to do is you can ask for a report by using the drop down on the top of the banner. These are the different types of reports that you might have available to you. Validation reports, missing assessment reports, roster reports, and all of these are available to you if you have the correct passwords and permissions on your HARP account. So you're going to need to select which report you wish to run and select Run Report over on this side. So what can these reports do for you? Why would you actually want to run iQIES reports? You want to make sure that CMS actually got your submissions. You think that you sent something off to CMS and you want to make sure that they got it. That would be in a validation report. Also, the validation reports will tell you if there's any problems with any particular assessment in the batch. I know that many of you look at your validation reports from your software, but that is not the same as the CMS validation reports. Even if it has the CMS logo on it, you need to go into the CMS, into iQIES, and check your validation reports every now and then just to make sure that everything that you think is in there actually got put in. You can use iQIES reports to give specific information to your QAPI team about how things are going. Maybe some of your projects that you're working on need a particular report to say if it's working or not. Those are often in your iQIES reports. You can, as an administrator, you can help predict staffing needs. You can look to see what your activity levels were last year at this time, or maybe 5 years ago at this time, to see how to predict what your staffing needs might be in the future. There's a lot of good information you can get from the activity reports. And also, it helps you to know how you're looking for marketing, for comparison within your city, within your street, with other facilities on Care Compare and some of the quality measures. So there's a lot of things that the iQIES reports can help you with for free. So as I mentioned, your software probably has validation reports. They're trying to make sure that you don't put in a bunch of submissions without realizing that there's already a problem with them. But that is not the same as the CMS validation reports. The CMS validation reports also includes warning errors that can help you reduce wasted effort. You can see where there's pieces of your process for how to get your submissions into the CMS database that are not going as well as you might think that they are. So to get an iQIES report, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to need to say which facility you work for. You're going to have to add yourself as a facility. So put in a keyword here, part of the name of your facility, and then you can search for it. You're going to also put in a date range. There are some date ranges that iQIES has built into it, so you can look for a report from the last month, or the last year, or the last fiscal year, or you can have a date range that you specify, like, I don't know, July 1st, 2024 to July 5th, 2024 is a perfectly valid range. When you fill all this out, you're going to want to go even further down the page, and there's a blue box that will say Run Report. It's going to look like this. It'll have the submission date and time. This is a batch. You said that you wanted information from 10/3/2022. So this is a particular batch that was put. This is the submission ID. That can be handy to know from time to time. This is the file name that is on your computer of what you called that batch file, and the status. You're of course going to have your facility name and so forth, and the date that you ran the report, which is going to be today. So you put in this batch 10/3/2022, but this is the day that you're asking for the report. Once you get the report, you can download it either in a CSV file, which turns into an Excel file, or as a PDF if you feel like you need to print something out. The report will tell you there were 6 records in this batch. 6 of the records were accepted, none of them were rejected, and none of them were duplicates. So you say, oh great, everything went in, that's great. But look at this, there's 3 messages in this submission batch that you might feel like you need to know what is going on. So don't just look at how many were accepted, also look at your number of messages. So when you're looking for an assessment that has an error message, it's going to tell you the assessment ID and the name of the person and so forth. This is the information from section A. So this particular assessment was A0310B is 01. A0310A was 99. So this is a 5-day PPS, a standalone 5-day PPS. And it was accepted. You can see that this was accepted. However, it did have a warning message, and each message has a warning number. This one says 1018, and this is a warning, and it's telling you that that you put the 5-day in a sequence that CMS was surprised by, but it was still accepted. It's in the database. It's fine, but you may need to know that particular piece of information for your QAPI program. So when you're interpreting an error message, each error message has a number. It'll tell you whether it's a warning or whether it's a fatal error. And it gives you this little message down here that can be quite cryptic. It doesn't always tell you exactly what it is that's the problem, except if you start looking at the item values. So when you look at the item values, it'll tell you what is going on. So you look for the commas. The first thing you do is you look where the commas are. So there's 1, 2, 3 commas, 1, 2, 3 commas in the item values. So this says the current record type is a 5-day. That's what's the information in the first comma. The prior record was an AO310A, was a 99. The prior record AO310B was a 99, so it wasn't an OBRA and it wasn't a PPS. It says the AO310F is 12, so it was a death in facility. So you are now filing a 5-day PPS on something that you already told CMS that there was a death in facility for this same resident. So CMS is surprised. They didn't know that you were going to file the 5-day because they thought that the resident had already passed. They're going to go ahead and keep it. It was accepted, but it's a surprise to them, and it's in what they think of as an incorrect order. So you can get in, there are some very detailed specific information that you can get by having some of the records in an incorrect order, but they'll keep it. It's okay. If you need more information on all the error messages, there is a manual on the QAPI Technical Support Office website. You want to go to References and Manuals at qatso.cms.gov, and you're going to have the reference manuals, and it tells you the error messages one by one, what they all mean, and gives you a little bit more information about what they all mean. So if you get a fatal error, that means that CMS did not retain that information. It's not in the database, and it usually means that you're not going to get paid for that episode. Whatever you're putting in the MDS for, whether it's for Medicare or Medicaid, or maybe even some of the third-party claims, if they see a fatal error, they're going to figure that that is not reimbursable. So if it waits too long to get fixed and you get yourself onto a different report period in the CMID, the case mix index detail reports, you might find that you have problems with a default that's very long that you could have fixed if you had just been watching for your fatal errors. So warning messages mean that CMS has retained that information in the database, but it might be a process that you can fix, and it will be very helpful for you. So process reports typically tell how well the staff is communicating with each other. There is the error detail by facility, meaning what kind of errors do you see most often. There's the missing assessment report that says, gee, we were expecting to get an assessment on this particular resident, and for some reason we haven't got it yet. Do you know why? And then there is a roster report. This is opposed to your software's roster report. The software is going to say who you're taking care of and who you're having on your clinical records, but CMS's roster is different. It tells you who CMS thinks is in your facility because you have not yet filed a discharge assessment for that resident. So CMS is thinking that that person is still there in your facility. So you want to check the CMS roster as opposed to your software's roster. So if you have information that's late or missing, there's some kind of process in your facility that isn't working as well as it should, and it might be very helpful in terms of financial, actually, to fix it. There are some staffing reports that were previously on CASPER. I think most of these have moved over to iQIES at this point. There's a particular activity report, admission and reentry and discharges, how many people are coming in and out of your facility, how many people actually came into your facility, say in a particular month. And then there's also a report called Reason for Assessment. I think that's now in iQIES, and that tells you how many assessments you have that are comprehensive and how many are non-comprehensive. As we know, the comprehensive assessments take much, much longer to complete and can help you with your staffing predictions when you know that you're getting more, you may have a particular month that you see more admissions than you might realize. So some of the reports are still on CASPER. These are in QAPI, not iQIES. So this is where CMS will send you communications like your APU reports, some of your other information. It'll tell you the preview reports in your facility inbox in CASPER. So you might need to check CASPER still for your folder. If you have problems with that, call me and I'll help you with that. These are also the CASPER reporting guides. This is from 2022. I think some of these are now on iQIES, but it's always worth checking in the reference section of the QTSO website to see what is now on CASPER. The payroll-based journals, I'm pretty sure, are still on CASPER. The value-based reporting is still on CASPER. So there's good reason to still have your CASPER IDs up and valid. When they talk about the payroll-based journal reports, this has another user manual that's also on the QTSO website. This is the hours of paid staff divided by the number of residents not reported as discharged. So this is why you really want to keep up on your discharges. Make sure you put all your discharge assessments in, because if CMS thinks you have more residents than you actually have walking down the hall, you might see that you have 15 residents on a unit and CMS thinks you have 25. They're going to think that the staffing ratio is not appropriate. So make sure that you keep your discharge assessments up in good order, or you will have some interesting reports on your payroll-based journal reports. There's also a daily census report, again, that will tell you how many residents that you have in a particular day. This can also help you with your staffing to see whether you had enough staffing on that day. So this report is kind of nice because it tells you even by job function who CMS thinks you had on the staffing. So you want to make sure that you can keep these in good shape, or your PBJ reports will not look correct.